pretty good. Hey there guys, today's project is definitely not going to be tops on the super practical list, but I do think it could top the super fun list, especially for those of you who happen to have little kids still in the house, and even for those of you who may not have kids or they might be long since gone. I think if you scale everything up in the video just a bit, it could still make for a very fun project. As for practicality though, I am going to be wearing some very practical pants in the video, so you may enjoy that. Anyway, in the video I'm going to be making some DIY PVC bows, and I'm also going to make probably an overly complex bow mold, but I hope you don't get dissuaded because I'll also show a very rudimentary simple mold that you can use to make the exact same thing. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do, and I also want to give a big thank you to the Home Depot Prospective and Ryobi Tools for sponsoring this video. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start this out by showing you an old PVC bow form that I made several months ago for my daughter's homeschool group. I made a total of 25 PVC bows off of this mold, and this is really all you need. You don't need anything fancy, just a shaped piece of wood so that you can mold the PVC around it. But obviously today I want to make a little more refined version, because the only downside to this version is that you have to have a lot of clamps so that you can clamp the PVC around this and hold it while it cools. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to use that scrap plywood over there and make something that is a little easier to make a replicatable PVC bow with. And that is pretty much it. If you're wondering about the shape of this, I originally eyeballed this based on a recurve bow that I had, but I will show you some clips right now of these dimensions that I measured out, just so you can get an idea of how the flow of the curves go. Total, this mold is about 42 inches. The center is 21 inches, and I'll show you those clips right now so you can kind of see how the general slopes go. So right now the basic framework of the mold is done. I secured this lower piece of the form onto this piece of plywood, and then I cut the top portion of the form in half. And the reason for that is because I want to be able to form this one half of the piece of PVC at a time. And what I'm going to do now is work on some sort of guide system to where I can move each one of these down in succession, and I'll have some sort of identifier so that I can make sure the center of the piece of PVC is right here and stays there as I form one side, and then I can work on forming the other side. Alright, now my guides are finished, and you can see how these pieces are going to slide into place when the PVC is heated up to form the shape. And the last thing I need to do is just drill a hole for a stop so that this mold can hold the PVC in place while it's cooling. So I just cut a few little sections of PVC, and I'll just place them like this. I'm going to squeeze them into place, and then I'll drill a hole and I'm just using a little scrap bolt that I had, a carriage bolt. And then it'll hold it. I decided to add some little handles that will help me push the molds down onto the PVC versus just bumping or pushing from the back here. And you'll see they just kind of slide like that, and they push against a little screw right there. So I'll put my PVC in there, and then I'll put one here. So nothing fancy, but I thought it was kind of a cool little addition. Right now I'm just waiting for the PVC to cool down, so I went ahead and marked out a string attachment point on each end of the PVC. I make this about 3/4 of an inch down, and I'll drill a hole and then cut the rest out with the saw. And I just try to make sure it's more towards the front of the bow, because when the string is notched in here, it's going to be pulling more that direction, so I just want more PVC on the back side of the string. So at this point the PVC has been molded. I have notches cut at each end, and you can see when this thing is bent it has a pretty cool bow shape. So the next step is to put an arrow rest, and for this I'm going to use just standard pipe insulation. I've cut just a little sliver, and what I'm going to do is just wrap it right around here, right where that pre-drilled hole was, right in the center of the bow, and then I'm going to wrap it with this electrical tape. And there you go, just a little bit of a bump right below that center hole, and then I just continued the tape down to kind of make a little handle. But that's really all you need, just something for the arrow to kind of rest upon when you're shooting. And for the bowstring, you can use pretty much any sort of cordage you have on hand. I prefer a braided nylon line such as this that is non-stretchy. I think this is about 1/8 to 3/16 inch thick, and I tie it to about 35.5 to 36 inches. But you could also use some paracord if that's what you have on hand as well. It's a little bit stretchier, so you'll just tie it about 2 inches shorter. You can see it stretches right there. And then to find the center point, just simply bend it in half and mark the center point, and that's where the kids will know where to knock the arrow. So I'll show you how to string this up, and then we'll make a couple arrows and shoot it. And to string this up is pretty simple. You'll start with one end on a notch, then you'll step through with your right leg, put that notched end on your left shin, and simply bend it over like this. And there you go. And for the arrows, I just use a simple 5/16 inch dowel that I cut to about 18 inches in length. And then I just hot glued a little foam ball on the end. You could use any sort of foam, just, you know, something where if the kids shoot it at you, it's not gonna hurt too bad. And right now I'll show you how I make the fletchings out of a simple roll of duct tape and just kind of cut it in the shape. Whoa, way off. Wasn't quite happy with just the yellow, so I added some red for style. So now I'll take the bow and show you how it performs. And the bow felt left out, so I gave it a matching tape job too. Now let's go shoot. All right, first target, the shipping container playhouse. Pretty good. All right, next target is the culvert cistern. Trying to use all targets of projects you guys have seen me build. Pretty good. Sunken greenhouse with a headwind. Shot over it. I'll shoot lower this time. There we go. I think you could hear that. DIY travel trailer, hail damage side. Chicken coop. What'd you shoot at?
The water tank.
Nice. That's kind of on Dad's tightness, huh? I could probably make it a little softer for you. I think it's safe to say it works. Now let's go for distance. I'm gonna go down my driveway. I'm gonna fire all three down my driveway. I have a little bit of a breeze coming this way, so I'm shooting into the wind. But I'll walk it out and see how far they go. One. I don't know if you can see that, but it's about 3/4 of the way down. Two. Okay, that one's in a cactus. And last one. All right, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55 yards for the first one. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, say 63 yards in honor of Tom Dempsey of the Saints. And I'm gonna say that one's maybe 67. Not too bad. And there's my house back there. I was shooting just in front of the culvert cistern. Well, that's about it, guys. I hope you found it interesting and maybe decide to give it a shot. You certainly don't have to build anything fancy like I built in the video. You could make a simple rudimentary form like I showed at the beginning of the video and make yourself a bunch of these PVC bows. And I think come around Christmas time, this could make for a very good gift giving project. Not necessarily the form, but if you have some nieces and nephews, maybe make them some of these PVC bows. It would save you a bunch of money, and I think it would make for really cool gifts. They could decorate them like I did these arrows and that with a little bit of tape. Anyway, I just think it's a cool project, and I think the kiddos and maybe some of you older folks would like to make them as well. I'm not going to make this very long, but I do want to touch on some things that people let me know. Some of you said that you weren't getting notifications of my last couple of videos, so if you would check and make sure your notifications are on the little bell in the upper left or right corner. I don't always ask that of you guys, but if you want to be notified of the videos, please check and just make sure that is on. And I will see you on the next one. The next video is going to be the slide out kitchen for the travel trailer. See ya.